Yo, 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 I got some multiple sources here. Check one. That should be us. How is everybody doing? Here we are. I see what we got going on here. We got a couple different feeds. There we go. That's more like it. Double check that we're coming in hot on all sides. Looks like we are. Please let me know if audio is good. Video should be crisp. Give or take. Thanks for hanging out. It's a little bit after 2 o'clock my time. You are hanging out for what we are calling Slay Cert Plus. A couple years ago, I did something called Slay Security Plus. We walked folks through their Security Plus. I was testing myself, and so I thought it'd be really cool to do something like the team at Black Hills or like Dr. Jerry Ozier or somebody, Professor Messer. And I wanted to help people break into the industry and study for their certifications using top tier industry resources with proven study methods and do it in a community atmosphere. So we did it with Slay Security Plus, and it was a hit for the people that showed up. Right, we had definitely a handful of testimonials of people that were able to pass the test the first time successfully. And I wanted to continue that forward. And so folks like myself and Tech Ricky have come together to form something called Slay Cert Plus. We want to take it to the next level. And the sole purpose of Slay Cert Plus is to bring you and everybody else along with Ricky and I, as we are the CEOs of our own careers and we level up together. We want to bring you along. We want to do it using top tier certified study resources, using methods that work to help you reduce study time, pass confidently the first time, because let's be honest, we don't want to give CompTIA 300, 400, $500, $1,000 every time we take the test. We want to pass the first time. And let's also be real. There's not a first place for the longest time it takes you to study for an exam. At the end of the day, you want to be able to pass the exam so you can put on your resume, start getting that hands-on experience, get into the industry and start working in cybersecurity, IT, whatever that looks like for you. And if this is your first time joining us, my name is Jesse J, aka the Cosmic Cowboy. I've been in IT for a little over 10 years, probably longer if I really started to think about it. And I currently work in vulnerability management and security operations. Part of my role is working in that operational. Now, I don't necessarily claim to be a SOC analyst. I work tangent with SOC analysts. Some of you might be SOC analysts or be aspiring to be ones. I wanted to have a much better textbook understanding of SOC analyst work because I do work in operations and I do work hands-on keyboard quite a bit. I wanted a nice, well-rounded certification that would show that I can learn and pass a test. Hence, taking the CySA Plus. After that, we'll probably dip our toes into some Microsoft certifications, maybe some Red Team certifications. And the whole time, I'll be studying, I'll be bringing you along with me, doing practice exams, performance-based questions, lesson review. I need to take my CySA Plus in 30 days. And so I'll be on here probably daily streaming some study sessions. We'll be going over practice questions. And then at least twice a week, Tech Ricky and I are going to do a longer stream in which we cover practice questions at length. We have special guests, people that are working in the field currently. They can share their experiences, hiring managers, kind of you name it. And so I hope that you find value. If you're trying to study for an exam, or maybe you know somebody that it is, send them my way. This may or may not be for you, but I can assure you that if you're trying to study for one of these multiple choice style exams, CompTIA, ISC2, at least take some of the knowledge, run with it, and hopefully you can pass your exam a lot faster the first time. And this is all free. If somebody sees this over time and we get more sponsors, kind of like we did with Slay Security Plus, that's great. I'm doing this as a way to study. I learn by teaching, but then after we get the certification, I like to come back and teach it from the perspective of an instructor and as somebody who's actually taken it. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to talk about today, what today's agenda looks like is I want to go into, well, how to study. What are we going to study and how to apply this knowledge to study for an exam that is as broad as CySA Plus. It's as broad as any of the CompTIA exams, right? They give you a bunch of stuff. bunch of material to cover in the exam objectives, and then you need to study for it, prepare for it, understand it, and then regurgitate it on test day. Hey, Regine Franklin, popping in to say hi, checking in on chat. Normally, we were going to do this stream on Friday. I should have specified that, which is today, but later in the day, I had an obligation that I had not encountered for. So I'm coming on solo. We'll chop up this video, maybe put it into some shorts to help you digest it without some of the jib jabber, right? So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's get some tunes rolling because I'm a musician by trade. I don't like completely empty sounding backgrounds. Let's put a little soundscape music, shall we? Like some spa music, like if that music is distracting. If you're watching this on YouTube, we are open to feedback. We're building this kind of from the ground up. We want to have a much more streamlined approach. And so if the music is distracting or it's too much, please let me know in chat or put it in team replay. I want to start today off by thanking our very first sponsor, the Daily Cyber Threat Brief. If you are trying to level up, if you're trying to understand, get a grasp around the cybersecurity landscape, why not show up and get unique perspective from a 20 plus senior in the cybersecurity, everything from programming, coding, security operations to, of course, GRC, hashtag GRC Mafia. Make sure you check out Dr. Jerry Ozier and the Daily Cyber Threat Brief brought to you by Simply Cyber. That's every Monday through Wednesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, followed up by the Cyber Career Hotline, which is a 30-minute Ask Me Anything to help you break into the industry. So check that out. All right, we thanked our sponsors. Let's get cooking with some studying. One of the things I hear a lot from people is they're trying to take their exam and they're not 100% sure how to study or really kind of what to study, in what order or what to study for. And so I want to shine some perspective into what has historically worked for tests like this through a series of repetition. So we study and then we come back and we study, right? Well, you have this exam objective sheet and we'll go in that here in a second. And the idea is that you're going to come back and you're going to reflect on the exam objectives in the exam, things that you learn about the topics, regardless of how the question is learned. One of the ways that I have found to be most effective for efficient and quick study is to take a full-on mock exam. However, you got to find one, whatever one works for you, whatever one has questions that are well worded. So whether that's through Udemy, Jason Dion, Pocket Prep, the official CySA Plus, CompTIA materials, whatever works for you, taking mock exam. And the reason we're going to do this is because we want to identify gaps in our knowledge. You're coming into CySA Plus or CYSA Plus, you probably already have some experience, whether it's home labbing, working in security operations, working in IT security. You probably already have a base set of skills coming in, but you are, like anybody, going to have weak spots. And so in order to keep this efficient, maximize our time, and minimize the struggle, we're going to take a full mock exam. This will identify gaps in our knowledge. After that, we want to use multiple sources, textbooks, YouTubes and apps. You like that? YouTube apps, whatever works for you, and target study around those weak areas. It's incredibly important. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then you're going to quiz yourself. Use Anki cards, flashcards, your mom, put flashcards on your dog's collar and have them walk around the house and come back and see if you got it right. Whatever it takes to continually quiz yourself, because what's happening is this repetition of study over time you forget less and you retain more. Okay. So you're going to chunk it down into smaller chunks. We're going to retain more, forget less. And then we're going to take another mock exam. And whatever works for you, you can do this linearly. So 1 through 4 and then repeat. You can do mix and match, whatever works for you. But you want to repeat until you're getting about a 90% on the practice exams that you're taking. And I know you're going to say, well, Jess, we can always memorize the answers, which is true. You can memorize the answers. At the end of the day, what's important is that you're testing on understanding concepts. Anybody can remember answers, but I promise you, the way every practice exam, no matter how good it is, it's not the real exam. And so it's incredibly important that you memorize and understand concepts, both the concept itself and then things that kind of lead into it and come out of it, sort of like a spider web. Oops. Let's see if it works. Okay. Thank you. Targeted study, right? So we've taken our mock exam. We've taken this full thing. We want to break it down. We want to use what's called the 80-20 or the Pareto principle. And I stole this concept. It's a well-known concept, but the way it was presented was from Inside Cloud and Security, Pete Zerger. Awesome resource for your CISSP and Security Plus testing. Highly recommend you check him out if you haven't. That's Inside Cloud and Security. So step 2, targeted study. Use multiple resources, but focus on your weak areas. So of all of the exam content that is out there for CySA Plus, focus it down and filter it down to only the weak areas using practice exams, live review, flashcards, apps, whatever it takes, okay? So that's where you want to spend your bulk of time. Of course, you want to review and make sure that you are still sharp on the things that you thought you were sharp on. But what's important is that the 80-20, 80% is dedicated to those weak areas and those gaps in your knowledge, with the other 20% being on the stuff that maybe you're just reviewing. So I'm going to practice some of my own medicine. And for any of you on Team Replay and the 3,000 to 3,000 of you that are going to show up live, I'm going to start off with some pocket prep. I'm going to set myself, I've got obligations, need to be done in 45 minutes. So let's do this practice question. Then we're going to create an exam for ourselves that'll last roughly 30 minutes. I'm going to give you an idea of how I think through these questions, some processes you can look for, and then we're also going to use some CompTIA official materials in this course, this channel, whatever you want to call it. Here's our question of the day. Acme Incorporated purchases a cyber insurance policy to ensure that they are reimbursed in the event of a cybersecurity breach. This is an example of which type of risk management strategy? A, risk avoidance, B, risk transference, C, risk acceptance, or D, risk mitigation? This is your first time joining us. Put the answers in chat. Hey, Berg SSJ, good to see you. So basically, Acme Inc., let's reread the question. So the first time you want to read it, look through your answers. Typically, when you take these exams, and you've heard this before from other content creators and people that have taken the exam, but maybe this is your first time, right? There's typically going to be 2 answers that stand out to you that are incorrect. And then you're going to be left with 1 or 2 answers that could be the answer. And of the 2, one of them is obviously the correct answer, or more corrector, I should say. Tech Ricky at work. What's up, my dude? Good to see you. Tech Ricky is the official co-host of CySA Cert Plus. He had to work, and I bumped this stream a little early, so he couldn't make it to today's stream, but he is my co-pilot, and we're going to be rocking this thing moving forward. He says D, risk mitigation. Cyber to ensure that they're reimbursed. So they're basically saying, hey, we're not going to... Is it risk transference? Is it B? All right, they're not avoiding the risk. They're either accepting it by saying, hey, we accept this risk, but we're going to pay a cybersecurity, we're going to get a policy that we get reimbursed in case something happens. Or are they transferring? Are they transferring that risk to the insurance company, right? Because that insurance company is the ones that if the cybersecurity gets popped, if Acme Incorporated gets popped, the cybersecurity company is the one that is paying that reimbursement. So Ricky's between B and D. I don't think it's avoidance, so we can scratch that one off. He's between B and D. I'm gonna go with risk transference, and let's see what happens. Check answer. Survey says, correcto mundo. Love starting off. Now let's talk about, importantly, the correct answers. But when you're reviewing these things and you're studying, review why the answer is incorrect. Remember, we're memorizing topics, not practice questions. My hand over here doing the political point. So there's 4 standard risk management strategies the CySA Plus candidates are going to have to be familiar with. Risk mitigation, that's the application of security controls to reduce or impact the probability of risk. So when you think mitigate, you think eliminate. Eliminate, mitigate. Whatever you have to create in your head to memorize this stuff, right? So mitigate, eliminate, which means you're trying to get rid of the risk. Risk avoidance is the modification of business practices to completely eliminate the risk. So instead of using an Exchange server on-prem, which is open to the internet, what if I switch something to a a privately hosted cloud solution, right? So I'm avoiding the risk by changing my business practices. So think risk avoidance, think changing business practice. Then we have risk transference. That is the concept of shifting impact to another organization or entity. And that's, via purchasing an insurance policy like our question. And then, of course, there is the risk acceptance, which you hear that and go, what? I thought we were here to eliminate risk. Well, you are here to eliminate risk. More than anything, you're here to try and strengthen the posture of the cybersecurity posture of a company so that they can navigate the risk as much as possible, right? Because as we all know, you cannot eliminate all risk. You can just do your best to manage it. All right, so let's create ourselves. I need to take this test like the first week of June. So let's set this together. I'm going to set it for June 1st. So a month from now. And let's do ourselves a build our own. Let's check. Can we do this is $20 a month. It's worth it. Pay for 3 months, invest in yourself. I'm telling you, man, it's 85 questions. So it's the whole thing. Okay. So let's just build one. Let's build one. And we're going to then go and look at our weakest subject. And then we're going to use that data, that information to begin our targeted study. Let's build our own test. I want it to be from all subjects, all domains, right? Because that's what we're working from, as we want to work from the 4 domains here as listed. So I want to work from all 4 domains, show answers as I go. Let's show answers at the end today. We've got about 30 minutes. Let's do 30 questions. That'll give us about 1 minute per question. This should give us a decent baseline of what we want to study moving forward. And I'm too impatient to type, so let's just do this. All right, let's start this bad boy. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. A threat actor performs a persistent DDoS attack against a critical Acme Incorporated web server. The attack is causing degraded service for all users. To recover from the attack, incident responders determine it will take 12 hours plus the purchase of an additional protection from their web application firewall and CDN or content delivery network provider. What category of recoverability effort applies to this incident? A, regular, B, supplemented, C, not recoverable, or D, extended. All right, so we have our answers. A threat actor performs a persistent DDoS attack against a critical Acme Incorporated web server. The attack is causing degraded service to all users. To recover from the attack, incident responders determine it will take 12 hours plus the purchase of additional protection from their WAF and CDN provider. So 12 hours plus protection, right? What category of recoverability effort applies to this incident? Is it A, regular, B, supplemented, C, not recoverable, or D, extended? I do not believe that it is not recoverable, right? Because we have options, so we can scratch that one off immediately. It's not, I don't believe it's regular. So I'm going by what the information I have here and the answers I'm given. I actually don't know this answer for fact. And so you're going to come across these questions. They might present you with something that you didn't study for or prepare for. So we know it's probably not regular and it's obviously not recoverable. So it's going to be between supplemented and extended. Berg is going with Tech Ricky, Berg, basically everybody in class. What's up, Virgo Beauty? Everybody's going with D, extended. All right, let's go ahead and do it and send it because we've got to move on. Next question. Remember, we don't get to see these. Which of the following best describes a CASB, or Cloud Access Security Broker? A wireless access point with built-in EDR. B, a time synchronization server. C, a reverse proxy for web applications. Or D, a policy enforcement checkpoint for cloud resources. Which of the following best describes a CASB, or Cloud Access Security Broker? A wireless access point with built-in EDR? No, because we know that we're talking about cloud, so we can scratch that one off. A time synchronization server? Probably not. Again, we're talking about cloud. The time synchronization server doesn't really have anything to do with cloud access and security. A reverse proxy for web applications? Again, we're not talking about reverse proxies, web application security. We're talking about specific policy enforcement, right, for cloud providers. I think we're probably all on the same page on that one. I'm going to roll with D. Next question. The Acme Incorporated Finance Department and Accounting Department both use an internal web application for critical business functions. A threat actor breached Acme Inc. network and took down the server that hosts the website. As a result, no users were able to access the application for 3 hours. Which of the functional impact categorization should be given to this incident? A, low, B, medium, C, none, or D, high? Reread the question and see what it's asking us. So they're telling us that the finance department and accounting department both use the same internal web application for critical business functions. This critical business function should stick out to you as a keyword. If you're ever seen critical business functions and then low, medium, none, and high, and if those critical business functions are being affected, you better bet your bottom dollar, son, that it's going to be a high. Delta, D, delta, dog. A threat actor breached it, took it down, and as a result, no users were able to access the application for 3 hours. I personally think it's a high. I think everybody in class agrees. Let's send it and check it out. We'll find out when we get back. Kind of miss getting our instant gratification response. Tell me in chat or on team replay if you like better the waiting till the end or immediately. A threat actor creates a URL that appears to be legitimate anchor, but actually redirects to a malicious website. What malicious technique is this an example of? SASE, data exfiltration, C, obfuscated link, or D, SOCOM? So basically, a threat actor creates a URL, right, in your browser, appears to be a legitimate CertPlus.com, but it actually redirects you to data exfiltration website.com. What's the example of? Immediately, LOL, my memory is sketchy. So the threat actor has done a redirect attack. So let's look at some of these answers. Well, we know that data exfiltration could result in this use if this user gets compromised because of the attack. And if their environment is compromised to a point where we can take out data, that would probably be a result of the compromise. But the malicious technique in and of itself is not data exfiltration, right? There's nothing in this question that's talking about moving data from one place to another. So we know that's not correct. A SASE solution doesn't have anything to do with URL or redirect websites, so we can take those off. And if you're not sure what SOCOM is or obfuscated link, well, we see that there's a link here. We kind of know what links are from working in security or IT. Obfuscated typically means hidden or changed. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to be having an obfuscated link. That would be my question or my answer. Which of the following is an example of a potential mitigation option? A, mutation testing on a Linux system. B, ping tac-t localhost. C, a CVSS score of 9.1. Or D, a security patch for Windows 10. Again, which of the following is an example of a potential mitigation option? A, mutation testing on a Linux system. B, the command ping tac-t localhost. Option C, a CVSS score of 9.1. Or D, a security patch for Windows 10. Jay Gold in the house. What is up, nerd? Doing a little impromptu stream before we get this thing officially kicked off. I think next week is next Monday I'll be going live, probably 30 minutes every day going over review questions because I'll be studying and reviewing myself, but then we'll go live and review what I'm learning on together. Whoa, Kimberly Can't Fix It's here. Awesome. Good to see you guys. All right, let's get back to the lecture at hand. Perfection is perfected, so I'd let them understand from a young G's perspective. Which of the following is an example of a potential mitigation option, right? We have mutation testing on a Linux system, the command ping localhost, CVSS score security patch. Well, we know a mitigate is to eliminate. So if we have a Windows 10 machine that is vulnerable and we patch it, well, then we are mitigating it. So I think that is the one that satisfies that question the most. A CVSS score is not a mitigation option. It's just a piece of information that ties to a vulnerability. Ping is a command, doesn't do anything to mitigate, just looks to see where our traffic is going. And then mutation testing on a Linux system, it says testing. Mitigation is prevent or to get rid of, right? Mutation testing doesn't really do anything to mitigate anything. I'm not 100% sure if they mean like mutating the data. I haven't heard mutation testing before. That's a new term for me, so I'll need to look it up. All right, on to the next question as we build out our baseline. Acme Inc. servers were compromised by malware. How should the organization decide if they should consult legal counsel? A, make a decision based on the context of the incident. B, automatically alert legal counsel for SNMP-based alarms. And remember that simple network management protocol. C, creates a webhook that sends an alert to the legal team for high severity CVEs. Or D, automatically alert legal counsel for every single security event in your organization. So every time somebody clicks on a link, we need to get legal counsel. Well, I think there's a few answers that are pretty straightforward. I think automatically alerting legal counsel stands out as an incorrect answer. So that leaves us with three options. Automatically alert counsel for SNMP-based alarms. SNMP-based alerts are going to happen throughout infrastructures all the time. And you're going to automatically alert. So B and D are, when I see automatically, you shouldn't be automatically alerting legal counsel for things like of this nature. Create a webhook that sends an alert to the legal team for high severity CVEs. Well, what if those CVEs aren't validated to have an actual impact in your environment? What if there is a high severity CVE, but you have compensating controls? So you're going to send a legal letter out. You're going to get a hold of the legal team, even though it's already taken care of. There's a compensation or the risk is accepted. Maybe the legal team already knows about it. So that tells me that those three answers just don't satisfy this. How should the organization decide if they should consult legal counsel? Make a decision based on the context of the incident. That one is very straightforward. And you're going to find that with the test. Some questions are really straightforward, where others are medium, and others are a lot more difficult. So I got a crier back there, so bear with me. Cruz, I like Cruz. A security engineer from Acme Inc. runs a network scan and discovers a router running Cisco iOS 11.1. This version of Cisco iOS software is no longer supported by Cisco. No. What is the correct categorization of the router? A, PAM system or privileged access management system. B, a legacy system. C, a SASE system. It's sassy. It's talking back to you. Or D, a proprietary system. Proprietary, maybe your English isn't your first language if you're watching this. Proprietary means basically something, an idea or a business that belongs solely to either one person or one identity, right? The recipe for somebody's world famous chicken is probably going to be a proprietary recipe only for their knowledge. Yeah, Virgo Beauty, GG, going back to that previous question, it does. I think they're saying it feels like context would lead for reviewing policies that are in place for a case by case. Yeah, a lot of what we do is case by case, right? It depends is a common answer in our field. It depends on the severity. It depends on how bad it was. It depends on who was affected. It depends on the impact to the business. All right, I got a couple answers in chat. B, a legacy system. Yep, that's straight up. No longer supported by Cisco. It's a legacy system. Need to either patch it, can't be patched, compensate it, or get it out. Put on a VLAN. All right. Here's a good one for us. Which of the following is valid Python code? I'll make this a slightly larger. If you're watching this, just go ahead and look at the screen. Which of the following is valid Python code? Print, begin parentheses, double quote, I will pass the CySA plus, exclamation point, double quote, end parentheses, write host, system output, echo. Well, we know that write host, I will pass the CySA plus is PowerShell. So that's not correct. When I think echo, I think of Linux. And when I think of this third one, I think of C, a C family of programming languages. I'm not sure which one that is, but it looks like C something. A, to me, looks like legit Python code. So that's what I'm going to go with. Oh, I should look for, does anybody disagree on that one? Do we all think it's A for the Python, the line of Python code? What do we think? We're doing pretty good on time. While I'm waiting for answers in chat, if you're the first time joining us, you're watching this on Team Replay in between questions, welcome to the channel. My name is Jesse J, aka the Cosmic Cowboy, and I am on a mission to pass my CySA Plus, bring you along with me, and then after that, pass other certifications and bring you along for the ride in a community-driven live study atmosphere, utilizing the top resources in the game and at no cost to you. So hopefully you drop in, have fun, and find some value. Always welcome for feedback too. So please, I got thick skin. I can handle it. Send it, A. Thanks, Rick. All right, next question. A threat actor breaches a network and installs a keylogger on an engineer's workstation computer. Which term best describes this series of occurrences? A, adverse event. B, a security event. A C, a Cert. Or D, a security incident. So it is adverse. It is crappy that it happened, but an adverse event, it is an adverse event, but that's not the term that we're looking for that relates to cybersecurity in this context. So we can get rid of A. Well, it is a security event, but it's also a security incident. It's not the incident response team, okay? So we know that's not A or C. That leaves us with either B or D. Of the two, is it a security event or is it an incident? As an analyst, I have my idea. I'm going to wait for it in chat. So the actor breaches the network and installs a keylogger on the engineer, successfully installs on an engineer's workstation. What best describes this series of occurrence? I think CSERT, it's something like either computer security or critical security, something cybersecurity incident response team, I believe. Oh, then D. Yeah, it's an incident, right? It was an event. We see lots of events throughout the day. But once we looked into it, validated that the breach was successful and that the keylogger was successfully installed, I believe that has now moved to an incident. Moving on. After recovering from a recent ransomware attack that resulted in the organization paying a ransom, the Acme Inc. Cert conducts a root cause analysis. This activity best aligns with what incident response phase? A, post-incident activity, B, lessons learned, C, continuous improvement, or D, detection and analysis. Remember, the CySA Plus is going to hammer you quite a bit on the steps of the incident response timeline, the incident response kill chain, however you want to word it. After recovering from a ransomware attack that resulted in the organization paying a ransom, the Acme CSERT conducted a root cause analysis. So why did it happen? What was the root? What was the main driving reason this occurred? This activity best aligns with what incident response phase? A, post-incident activity, B, lessons learned, C, continuous improvement, or D, detection and analysis. Let's go through our lessons in our head and let's talk about it a little bit. Detection and analysis. We want to validate and see if we've detected and analyzed something in our network, on our endpoint, whatever it is in our environment. Well, we're already past the detection and analysis, right? We detected it. We know it's ransomware. We got pwned. We had to pay the ransom, right? We're screwed. So we know it's not detection and analysis. Continuous improvement has to do with software development, not root cause analysis. So it's going to be either post-incident activity or lessons learned. What is everybody in class going to go with today? What do we think? Everyone's going to go with lessons learned. So we know it's between post-incident activity and lessons learned. Let's go with B and send it. Mahan, a security architect at Acme Inc., is tasked with identifying a tool that can identify unauthorized configuration file changes on Acme Inc. servers. Which of the following tools is the best solution given the requirement? So what is the requirement? I need a tool that can identify unauthorized configuration file changes on my servers. Okay, so what is the question asking me? I need a tool that can identify unauthorized configuration file changes on a server. Nmap, A, B, John the Ripper, C, Wireshark, or D, Tripwire? What do we think, class? It's a good one. Well, we know that Nmap is a network mapping tool that can identify open ports, services running, operating systems, right? It's the network layer. We're running various ping commands and scripts to enumerate. It's an enumeration tool. So we know that's not it. We know from our experience doing home labs and spending time in cybersecurity that John the Ripper is a password cracking, password smashing tool, a solution that is used for either uncovering passwords, cracking hashes, passing hashes, you name it. Wireshark is a tool that we use to monitor, it's a network monitor, water network activity. A, Tripwire, or D, Tripwire. I'm going to go with D because A is a network mapper, B is a password cracker, C doesn't let you know if configuration file changes happen on the server. They can let you know if unauthorized access happened to the server, or they could tell you, the Wireshark could tell you some of the traffic going back and forth on the wire, hence the name. Tripwire sounds like the right thing to me, thinking I'm in someone's environment, I make a change. I'm gonna go with Tripwire. Which of the following would best to help an organization focus its cybersecurity efforts on the most common vulnerabilities and exploits? A, OSINT or open source intelligence. B, top 10 lists. C, zero-day vulnerability lists. Or D, RAD. RAD, bruh. What do we think? Yes, Ricky, I can adjust the number of questions in the quizzes. This is incredibly customizable. So I just did 30 questions from all the possible domains to give us a baseline, kind of like we've been talking about. But yeah, you can go and make them if you want to have. You can customize it to a certain number of quizzes just from a single domain, let alone how many questions overall. Yeah, Jay Gold, this is Pocket Prep. We are paying for it. Pocket Prep, if you're listening and you'd love to support us, we'd love to have you. Well, open source intelligence, most common vulnerabilities and exploits. Open source intelligence may be part of that, doing the research, but that's not satisfying the question. Top 10 lists, a top 10 vulnerability and exploits. That could be something helpful. A zero-day vulnerabilities list. 0 days might not be the most common, so it could be helpful, but I don't know if it's the best way. It is a good way, and you might get partial credit. Yes, you get partial credit. You heard me correct. I get partial credit on that question, but I don't think it's the correct answer. And then I'm not sure what RAD is off the top of my head. I'm sure we'll learn. My gut tells me to go with top 10 lists. What do you think in chat? Next question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Acme Inc. maintains a web application used by Customer Corp, Acme Inc., and Customer Corp. Both have signed an SLA related to the web application. How could the SLA or service level agreement inhibit Acme's ability to quickly remediate vulnerabilities? If it interferes with a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, if it messes with an access control list, where this is a technical control, so think computers, with an ICMP, which is a type of packet that you can send, or with uptime requirements. Yeah, I think so too. We're going to submit this here in a minute so we can analyze. I'm not going to be able to get through 30. I agree with you, Rick. I think 10 to 15 would probably be the sweet spot. And again, this was supposed to be a longer one to give us a baseline. We won't spend typically on these live streams. We're going to be spending most of our time in the actual CompTIA, this fancy schmancy platform. So the learn and then the official, the official practice questions. Or these are both official practice questions, but just presented differently. Well, an ACL is an access control list that we're talking technical. This is looking for policy and contractual agreements, not technical specifications. So we know it's not an ACL. Again, with ICMP, that's another technical term. So it's either an MOU or with uptime requirements. We know that SLA is what demands the uptime requirements or outlines them, the service level that I'm going to provide, a 99.9 service level of uptime. So I'm going to, a memorandum of understanding could be part of this, but it's going to be uptime requirements. get halfway done so we can chat about it. A private political group has identified a set of companies they disagree with on several controversial political topics. This group launches a series of DDoS or distributed denial of service attacks against the companies. This group is an example of which type of threat actor? A, hacktivists, B, insider threats, C, OSINT, or D, organized crime. So we've got a private political group. So there's some kind of social, religious, or political thing, ideology that they're pissed off, upset about. Sorry, Kennedy. And they attack. They've identified a set of companies. It doesn't say anything about them working in the company or having any kind of internal connection, so we know it's not insider threats. OSINT is, remember, open source intelligence, gathering as much information as you can from public sources. So those two answers are not correct. Well, so that leaves us with either hacktivist or organized crime. Let's look at our motive. Well, it's a private political group, and they're not trying to get money. Organized crime is typically trying to get money, crypto and or cash. Straight cash, homie, straight cash. Hacktivists, we know from our training and experience, right? The hacktivists are usually socially, politically, their motives are based on ideology. So that one answers it for us. Final question for today's baselining. Kim, a security analyst at Acme Inc. has an HDD from a compromised endpoint. Kim wants to create a bit-for-bit copy of the drive. Here we go. Which Linux command is best suited for this task? A, Wireshark, B, dgauss, C, cat, or D, DD? For the sake of time, let's navigate these together. Wireshark, we discussed this. Wireshark is a network monitoring tool. Has nothing to do with hard drive and or copying bit for bit data. So Wireshark is not the solution we're looking for. Dgauss is the process of removing data from a hard drive using a using magnetism to remove and scramble the ions to make the data unreadable. So we know it's not these two because those aren't even commands; those are tools. Well, one is a process and one is a tool. Well, cat, that's an application, right? That's a tool, but that is to, I always get this word messed up, Kakashi, you know what I'm talking about. It basically opens up, lets you expand a file and or text. And then DD is our correct answer. Let's quit the quiz, but let's submit it. Submit 15 questions. Let's go, team. 13 of 15 we answered correctly on this baseline. It took us an average of 2 minutes and 2 seconds. So here's some metrics that we can look at as we do this every day, every week, clocking in, clocking out. So we got all of them. We got of this 15 correct. We did get 2 incorrect, and they're both from 3.0 incident response and management. And so let's say you're studying today. This is going to be my example of how to study effectively. You've done your baseline for the day and you go, you know what? I did really good on all those areas. I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes of my study time targeting on 3.0 incident response and management, and 3.0, that's where I'm going to stay, is in that 3. So you do that targeted study, and the idea is that we're eliminating all of the clutter to make our study sessions more efficient. So then we take that knowledge and we go, okay, well, let's look at our study guide. I did pretty good on all the other domains, but I know that on 3.1, I need to do some work. So however you want to do it, we can be like, put a little star, and you can type, needs work, whatever you want to do. But as you go, we're going to be, hey, look, what did we talk about today? Well, we talked about containment, a little bit of eradication and recovery. We talked a little bit about the incident response plan. We talked a little bit about root cause analysis. And as you go, you're going to notice that this gets more and more filled up. And then you're going to get to test day. And this is basically going to be all you're going to need. Because you can handwrite or type little notes, little things as you go along through the domains, right? And so you target study 3.0 and you can say, I need work on these areas. Or you could do something like Pocket Prep. And we say, all right, I know that I need to study 3.0. I don't feel like reading today. Do I have them up here? No. I have the official CYSA books. I don't feel like reading textbooks. I just want the information. I want to do some more quizzes. Well, I'm going to build a quiz. You could also do missed questions, but I'm going to build a quiz, and I want to do just from incident response and management. I want the answers to show as I go. And do I get the option to strike answer? Nope. So let's start our quiz, right? So now we're going to do some targeted studying. The destination and file and blah, 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 right? So got that one correctly because that was immediate. So there's lots of ways you can skin the proverbial cat. So moving forward, I'm going to test myself. I'm going to study, and then in those weak areas, we're going to be doing mini lessons. Myself, Tech Ricky, we're building out the slide decks right now. So this is starting at domain 1.0, system hardening and platform basics. And we're going to talk about that. Windows registry, the incident response planning, right? So we want to be able to teach while we learn at the same time. Not everybody always gets it right. That's the process of learning. All right, ladies and gentlemen that joined us, thank you so much. Hey, if you watch this on Team Replay or you watch this on LinkedIn, Tech Ricky and I are open to all sorts of feedback, what kind of flow that you might like to see. I always have my vision, so there's some things that are going to be, hey, it's my way or the highway. But at the end of the day, we hope that you find value. You get better at passing these exams. We want to do everything from Microsoft certs, maybe some red team certs, like I said, CISSP down the road. Really excited to be doing it. Super stoked to have a sponsor like the Daily Cyber Threat Brief, and then all of you in chat that are showing up consistently. We want to take this to the next level. But that's all I got for today. You can show up. You'll see me throughout the week, but then Tech Ricky and I will be streaming consistently. We think it's Friday, and it should be 5 p.m. Eastern time. But if you think most people are still driving at that time, we can change it to be a later study session in the evening. We could do weekends or something. You let us know. But for now, we're going to keep the Friday date. That's a lot of talking. I gotta go get my fingers ready to go play some guitar. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, a wonderful Friday weekend. Hope you guys do well. And until the next time, stay secure.